Welcome to Fairy Tale Nights, where we bring you enchanting bedtime stories for adults. Tonight, we invite you to relax and unwind as we journey through the magical tale of Little Red Riding Hood. This beloved story, filled with bravery and adventure, is sure to inspire sweet dreams and peaceful slumber. So, get comfortable, let your worries drift away, and enjoy this timeless bedtime story. Once upon a time, there was a dear little girl who was loved by everyone who looked at her, but most of all, by her grandmother. And there was nothing that she would not have given to the child. Once, she gave her a little cap of red velvet, which suited her so well that she would never wear anything else. So she was always called Little Red Cap. One day, her mother said to her, "Come, Little Red Cap, here's a piece of cake and a bottle of wine. Take them to your grandmother. She's ill and weak, and they will do her good. Set out before it gets hot, and when you are going, walk nicely and quietly, and do not run off the path, or you may fall and break the bottle, and then your grandmother will get nothing. And when you go into her room, don't forget to say good morning, and don't peep into every corner before you do it." "I will take great care," said Little Red Cap to her mother, and gave her hand on it. The grandmother lived out in the wood, half a league from the village, and just as Little Red Cap entered the wood, a wolf met her. Red Cap did not know what a wicked creature he was, and was not at all afraid of him. "Good day, Little Red Cap," said he. "Thank you kindly, wolf. Whither away so early, Little Red Cap?" "To my grandmother's." "What have you got in your apron?" "Cake and wine. Yesterday was baking day. So poor sick grandmother is to have something good to make her stronger." "Where does your grandmother live, Little Red Cap?" "A good quarter of a league farther on in the wood. Her house stands under the 3 large oak trees. The nut trees are just below." "You surely must know it," replied Little Red Cap. The wolf thought to himself, what a tender young creature. What a nice plump mouthful she will be better to eat than the old woman. I must act craftily so as to catch both. So he walked for a short time by the side of Little Red Cap, and then he said, "See, Little Red Cap, how pretty the flowers are about here. Why do you not look round? I believe, too, that you do not hear how sweetly the little birds are singing. You walk gravely along as if you were going to school, while everything else out here in the wood is merry." Little Red Cap raised her eyes, and when she saw the sunbeams dancing here and there through the trees, and pretty flowers growing everywhere, she thought, "Suppose I take grandmother a fresh nosegay, that would please her too. It is so early in the day that I shall still get there in good time." And so she ran from the path into the wood to look for flowers. And whenever she had picked one, she fancied that she saw a still prettier one farther on, and ran after it, and so got deeper and deeper into the wood. Meanwhile, the wolf ran straight to the grandmother's house and knocked at the door. "Who is there?" "Little Red Cap," replied the wolf. "She is bringing cake and wine. Open the door." "Lift the latch," called out the grandmother. "I am too weak and cannot get up." The wolf lifted the latch. The door sprang open, and without saying a word, he went straight to the grandmother's bed and devoured her. Then he put on her clothes, dressed himself in her cap, laid himself in bed, and drew the curtains. Little Red Cap, however, had been running about picking flowers, and when she had gathered so many that she could carry no more, she remembered her grandmother and set out on the way to her. She was surprised to find the cottage door standing open, and when she went into the room, she had such a strange feeling that she said to herself, "Oh dear, how uneasy I feel today, and at other times I like being with grandmother so much." She called out, "Good morning," but received no answer, so she went to the bed and drew back the curtains. There lay her grandmother with her cap pulled far over her face and looking very strange. "Oh, grandmother," she said, "what big ears you have." "The better to hear you with, my child," was the reply. "But, grandmother, what big eyes you have." She said, "The better to see you with, my dear." "But, grandmother, what large hands you have." "The better to hug you with." "Oh, but grandmother, what a terrible big mouth you have." "The better to eat you with." And scarcely had the wolf said this, than with one bound he was out of bed and swallowed up Red Cap. When the wolf had appeased his appetite, he lay down again in the bed, fell asleep, and began to snore very loudly. The huntsman was just passing the house and thought to himself, "How the old woman is snoring. I must just see if she wants anything." So he went into the room, and when he came to the bed, he saw that the wolf was lying in it. "Do I find you here, you old sinner?" said he. "I have long sought you." Then just as he was going to fire at him, it occurred to him that the wolf might have devoured the grandmother, and that she might still be saved, so he did not fire, but took a pair of scissors and began to cut open the stomach of the sleeping wolf. When he had made 2 snips, he saw the little red cap shining, and then he made 2 snips more, and the little girl sprang out, crying, "Ah, how frightened I have been! How dark it was inside the wolf!" And after that, the aged grandmother came out alive also, but scarcely able to breathe. Red Cap, however, quickly fetched great stones with which they filled the wolf's belly, and when he awoke, he wanted to run away. But the stones were so heavy that he collapsed at once and fell dead. Then all 3 were delighted. The huntsman drew off the wolf's skin and went home with it. The grandmother ate the cake and drank the wine, which Red Cap had brought, and revived. But Red Cap thought to herself, "As long as I live, I will never by myself leave the path to run into the wood when my mother has forbidden me to do so." It also related that once, when Red Cap was again taking cakes to the old grandmother, another wolf spoke to her and tried to entice her from the path. Red Cap, however, was on her guard and went straight forward on her way, and told her grandmother that she had met the wolf, and that he had said good morning to her, but with such a wicked look in his eyes that if they had not been on the public road, she was certain he would have eaten her up. "Well," said the grandmother, "we will shut the door, that he may not come in." Soon afterward, the wolf knocked and cried, "Open the door, grandmother. I am Little Red Cap, and am bringing you some cakes." But they did not speak or open the door, so the graybeard stole twice or thrice round the house and at last jumped on the roof, intending to wait until Red Cap went home in the evening, and then to steal after her and devour her in the darkness. But the grandmother saw what was in his thoughts. In front of the house was a great stone trough, so she said to the child, "Take the pail. Red Cap, I made some sausages yesterday, so carry the water in which I boiled them to the trough." Red Cap carried until the great trough was quite full. Then the smell of the sausages reached the wolf, and he sniffed and peeped down, and at last stretched out his neck so far that he could no longer keep his footing, and began to slip and slipped down from the roof straight into the great trough and was drowned. But Red Cap went joyously home, and no one ever did anything to harm her again. Little Red Cap's adventures did not end there, for she became known throughout the village for her bravery and kindness. Often, she would visit her grandmother, bringing her treats and helping her with chores. One bright morning, Red Cap set off for her grandmother's house again, carrying a basket full of freshly baked bread and homemade jam. She hummed a cheerful tune as she walked, feeling the warm sun on her face. The path through the woods seemed familiar and safe now, and she was confident in her ability to handle any danger. As she walked, she heard a rustling in the bushes. A large, wise-looking owl emerged and perched on a low branch. "Good day, Little Red Cap," hooted the owl. "Good day, Mr. Owl," she replied. "Where are you off to today?" "To my grandmother's house," said Red Cap, smiling. "I'm bringing her some bread and jam." The owl blinked slowly, as if deep in thought. "Be careful, little one," he warned. "Not all creatures in the forest are as friendly as they seem." Red Cap nodded, remembering her last encounter with the wolf. "I will be, Mr. Owl. Thank you for the warning." Further along the path, she came across a small, sparkling stream. Red Cap knelt to take a drink, enjoying the cool, fresh water. As she stood up, she noticed a beautiful deer watching her from the opposite bank. The deer had soft brown eyes and seemed curious, but not afraid. "Hello, Little Red Cap," said the deer in a gentle voice. "Hello," Red Cap responded, delighted by the unexpected company. "Are you on your way to visit your grandmother?" asked the deer. "Yes, I am," said Red Cap. "Would you like to come along?" The deer shook her head. "I must stay here, but I will watch over you from afar." "Safe travels, Little Red Cap." Feeling reassured by her new forest friends, Red Cap continued on her journey. She reached her grandmother's house without further incident and was greeted with a warm hug and a smile. "Oh, my dear, you have brought me such wonderful treats," exclaimed her grandmother. They spent the afternoon together, enjoying the bread and jam, laughing and sharing stories. As the sun began to set, Red Cap knew it was time to head home. "Thank you, grandmother," she said, hugging the old woman tightly. "I will see you again soon." Red Cap made her way back through the woods, the path now bathed in the golden light of the setting sun. She felt a sense of peace and contentment, knowing that she had faced danger and emerged stronger. The forest, once a place of fear, had become a place of friendship and adventure. And so, Little Red Cap lived happily, always remembering the lessons she had learned and the friends she had made in the enchanted woods. One day, as Little Red Cap was picking berries near the edge of the forest, she heard a faint cry for help. Following the sound, she discovered a young fox caught in a hunter's trap. Its paw was badly injured, and it looked at her with pleading eyes. Without hesitation, Red Cap carefully freed the fox and tended to its wound using herbs and bandages from her basket. "Thank you," whispered the fox. "I will never forget your kindness." As the days passed, the fox and Little Red Cap became good friends. The fox, grateful for her help, taught her many secrets of the forest. She learned which plants were safe to eat, how to find her way using the stars, and how to understand the language of animals. These skills made her even braver and more resourceful. One evening, Red Cap's village was visited by a traveling merchant who brought news from distant lands. He spoke of a terrible dragon that was terrorizing a village far away. The villagers were desperate and had no one to protect them. Inspired by the tales of bravery, Red Cap decided she would help. She packed a small bag with food, her grandmother's cloak for warmth, and the knife she had used to save herself from the wolf. As she set off on her new adventure, her forest friends wished her well. The owl flew ahead to scout the path. The deer accompanied her to the edge of the forest, and the fox promised to keep an eye on her grandmother. Red Cap's journey was long and arduous, but she remained determined. Along the way, she helped those in need, using the skills and knowledge she had gained. When she finally reached the village plagued by the dragon, she found the people living in fear. The dragon demanded a tribute of livestock and gold, and anyone who resisted was met with fiery destruction. Red Cap approached the village elder and offered her help. Though skeptical, the elder allowed her to try. Red Cap spent the next few days observing the dragon from a safe distance. She noticed that the dragon had a weak spot on its underbelly, exposed only when it landed to eat. Using her cunning, she devised a plan. She gathered herbs that produced a sleep-inducing smoke when burned and set a trap near the dragon's lair. On the night of the full moon, she put her plan into action. She lit the herbs, and the smoke wafted into the dragon's cave. As the dragon inhaled the fumes, it became drowsy and sluggish. Seizing the opportunity, Red Cap approached the sleeping beast and, with a swift and precise strike, targeted the dragon's weak spot. The dragon let out a final roar before collapsing. The village erupted in cheers as Red Cap emerged victorious. The people showered her with gratitude and gifts, but she refused most of them, accepting only a small token of appreciation. She insisted she needed nothing more than to see them safe and happy. After spending a few days celebrating and ensuring the village's safety, she began her journey home. When Red Cap returned to her village, she was welcomed as a hero. Her grandmother, who had anxiously awaited her return, embraced her tightly. The forest friends gathered to hear her tales of bravery and adventure. Red Cap continued to live happily, always ready to lend a helping hand to those in need. Her story spread far and wide, and she became a legend, inspiring others to be brave, kind, and resourceful. Little Redcap's fame spread beyond the village, reaching the ears of the king of a distant land. This kingdom was suffering under the reign of a wicked sorcerer who had cast a spell of perpetual darkness over the land. The king, desperate for a solution, sent messengers far and wide in search of anyone who could break the spell. One day, a royal envoy arrived at Redcap's village. The villagers eagerly pointed the way to her home. The envoy found Redcap at her grandmother's house, helping with the garden. "Lady Redcap," he said, bowing deeply, "the king of our land has heard of your bravery and kindness. He seeks your aid to free our kingdom from the curse of a wicked sorcerer. Will you come with me to the palace?" Redcap looked at her grandmother, who nodded encouragingly. "I will go," she said, "but first I must prepare." Redcap gathered her things, including the herbs and potions she had learned to make from her forest friends. The owl, the deer, and the fox came to bid her farewell and offered their assistance. The owl gave her a feather that would grant her wisdom. The deer gave her a flower that would provide protection, and the fox gave her a stone that could dispel illusions. With these gifts, she felt ready for the journey ahead. The journey to the distant kingdom was long and fraught with danger. They crossed treacherous mountains, braved wild rivers, and traveled through dark forests where shadows seemed to whisper. Redcap's companions were invaluable. The owl's feather helped her navigate the unknown paths, the deer's flower protected her from harm, and the fox stone revealed hidden dangers. When they finally reached the kingdom, they were met with an eerie silence. The land was cloaked in darkness, and the people moved about like shadows, their faces marked by despair. The king welcomed Redcap and led her to his throne room, where he explained the nature of the curse. "The sorcerer has hidden his heart in a crystal, protected by powerful magic," he said. "Only someone pure of heart and brave enough to face him can break the spell." Redcap listened intently and then devised a plan. She would confront the sorcerer directly, using the gifts from her forest friends to aid her. That night, under the cover of the perpetual darkness, she set out for the sorcerer's lair. The owl guided her through the labyrinthine paths. The deer's flower shielded her from the sorcerer's traps, and the fox's stone revealed the illusions that guarded the entrance. Inside, she found the sorcerer waiting for her. He was a tall, imposing figure with eyes that glowed like embers. "So, you are the one they sent to stop me," he sneered. Redcap stood her ground. "I am here to free this kingdom from your evil," she declared. The sorcerer laughed and unleashed a barrage of dark magic, but Redcap used the owl's feather to counter his spells. The battle was fierce, and just when it seemed that Redcap might be overwhelmed, she remembered the gifts from her friends. With the deer's flower, she deflected the sorcerer's most powerful spell. Then, using the fox's stone, she revealed the crystal that held the sorcerer's heart. Seizing the moment, she struck the crystal with her knife. The sorcerer let out a scream as the crystal shattered, and with it, the darkness that had plagued the kingdom began to lift. Light returned to the land, and the people emerged from their homes, blinking in the brightness of the new dawn. The king and his court rushed to the sorcerer's lair, and found Redcap standing victorious. The king embraced her and declared her the savior of the kingdom. Redcap was offered a place of honor at the palace, but she declined, saying, "My home is in the forest, with my grandmother and my friends." She returned to her village, a hero once more, greeted by joyful celebrations. Her adventures became the stuff of legend, told and retold to inspire courage and kindness. Redcap continued to live a life of adventure and service, always ready to help those in need. She remained close to her forest friends, who had become like family to her, and together they ensured that their corner of the world was a place of safety and happiness. Years later, when Redcap had grown into a wise and respected woman, she decided to pass on her knowledge and skills. She took on apprentices, teaching them the secrets of the forest, the art of healing, and the importance of bravery and kindness. Her legacy lived on through them, and the tales of Little Redcap's adventures were told for generations, a beacon of hope and courage for all who heard them. And so, Little Redcap's story continued, woven into the fabric of the lives she touched and the hearts she inspired. She lived a long, fulfilling life, surrounded by friends, family, and the boundless beauty of the world she had helped to protect. And in the hearts of those who knew her story, she would always be the brave little girl in the red cap who faced danger with a smile and made the world a better place for everyone. This was the fairy tale of Little Red Cap, the brave girl whose kindness and courage touched the hearts of many. Thank you for listening to this enchanting story. I hope you enjoyed the adventures and found inspiration in her bravery. Now, it's time to rest and let your dreams take you to magical forests and heroic journeys. If you enjoyed this enchanting bedtime story for adults, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our magical journey for more captivating tales. Have a peaceful night and sweet dreams. Good night.